Now, the next two things I wanted to present briefly are more in the realm of, I would say, speculation or theory. I try not to do that, but these were interesting. And so the first one was just an excerpt that was sent to me by our Italian friends, Alicio, with the light box. And this was a passage from, I guess, his physics mentor, who has studied the biological effects of 5G. And I haven't actually tried to verify this in any way. So I want to be clear, this is something that this professor has come up with based on his own study of the biological effects of 5G. And one of the main reasons I'm actually even saying this is if anybody who hears this has any other information or studies, if you could please send them to me, I would love to try to look into this further. So essentially what we're talking about is a mechanism of how 5G millimeter waves might make somebody sick, particularly with a lung problem. Now, I'm not saying that all of what we call COVID, which doesn't exist, is caused by 5G. I'm just saying 5G millimeter waves is a biological toxin, and it would be good to know what the effects are, how it works, and as a component of the many things that are actually out there making people sick. So let me again share my screen. We don't need this one. Here we go. So I'm going to read this in its entirety, and then I'll make a comment. So, okay, naturally, besides the right frequency, the material component is also necessary. The pH value in the acidic environment, which is responsible for the formation of prussic acid, which ultimately causes the death of humans. At least many report a palsy of the olfactory, that's the smelling nerve, or nerves, or bitter almond taste, typical for prussic acid poisoning. Some pass out and die on the spot. At last, there is little sense in developing a vaccine against a disease that is transmitted by wireless technology. In our case, the lungs seem to be affected. It is known that smoking releases small amounts of prussic acid. This amount can increase if, for example, a salt of it, like sodium cyanide, is transformed by the stomach acid into prussic acid, dangerous to humans. On the one hand, the body water plays an important role with which the prussic acid likes to mix. It reacts, as said, at a frequency in ranges of 2.4 to 22.2 gigahertz, a frequency at which individual water colloids act as antenna. In case of eigenresonance or natural resonance, the high frequency radiation is received as an energy source and used. In doing so, prussic acid is also activated and increased. We have found a way in which the 5G signal in the range of 2.4 to 22.4 gigahertz, and further at around 1.2 gigahertz and around 44.4 gigahertz, affecting the water resonances, can directly cause the activation of prussic acid in our airways. Only little of this substance is needed for poisoning. So here, basically, we have a potential, at least in theory, mechanism that water is the receiver and the frequencies in the 2.4 to 22.2 gigahertz range are received as energy sources by the water, and that this relates in an activation of this substance called prussic acid in our airways, which acts as a sort of cyanide, which then creates damage and even damage to our lungs and even damage to our nerves, which may result in some of the smell and taste phenomena that people are describing. The other point that was made was this one, the quote rouleau phenomena. That's where the blood cells stick together instead of being soft, flexible, and moving. They stick together into a line, so to speak, called a rouleau phenomena, is well known, with which blood reacts to high frequencies. And on the other hand, we know of the harms that such viscous blood can inflict, even in the case of children. So essentially, he's saying that another consequence of exposure to frequencies in the 5G range is a rouleau phenomena, which essentially means a sticking together of the red blood cell, which causes the blood to be more viscous or thicker and not flow properly, which can result in all kinds of cardiovascular illnesses such as strokes and myocarditis and heart attacks and all the rest. So here's another possible mechanism of going from exposure to millimeter waves and causing illness in people.